Thank you very much. Like I said, my name is William Collier. I'm running for House District 5, State Representative. A little closer. And I do talk songs, so I apologize for that. Just let me know if I'm a little bit too soft. I'm basically, like I said, I'm running for District 5 House of Representatives. And District 5 consists of 6 counties. The 6 counties you guys are all probably very familiar with. It's Wood County, northern part of Smith County, Rains County, Upshur County, which has been added this session, and then Titus County and Camden. And I'm really looking forward to this race. I'm really energized in how everything's been going. All the participants have been really great, supportive. I am a conservative Christian. I am married. I have 9 children total. And we have a 6-week-old sitting right there, so it's a good girl out to go upstairs with her. And so we have really set down roots in the state of Texas. But to give you a little background on myself, I have been in the service of our country and had the privilege to do so for the last 26 years. I've retired. I've set my roots up in Talco. I've been made familiar with Talco, but it's the northern part of this district. I bought a little hobby farm there. I've got some cattle, some chickens, some turkeys, which is basically going back to the roots I came from. I was born in Cotton County. It's a small ranching community. We had a small family farm there. My granddad was the sheriff. My dad was the deputy sheriff. We lived there until I was about 8 years old, and then my dad decided he wanted to become a U.S. Marshal. So he applied to become a U.S. Marshal, was accepted to the program, through the training, and so he became a U.S. Marshal and worked the Narcotics Division in basically the southwestern part of the United States. So it was really entertaining because we kept moving around a lot because he did undercover, and undercover you don't want to be there so long and you just have to keep moving on. Well, that became a habit, unfortunately, because then at 17, I decided to went on. I did what we call high school to flight school. So I took the ASVAB test and I took the pilot training test and I passed it all and they said it was okay. So we got a contract for you to go to flight school, but you got to be 18 years old and you're only 17. So you have to do something before that. So I became an aircraft mechanic. So I figured I'd work on the aircraft I was going to be flying. So I went and became an aircraft mechanic and did that for a year. It actually ended up being like a year and a half before I actually got to go to building flight school. But after I finished the warrant officer program, was in the primary flight program, I developed some medical problems where my thyroid wasn't functioning correctly and stuff, and that actually grounded me into that part of my career. So I went back to being an aircraft mechanic, and I did that for a couple more years. So I went from private basically to E6, and then I decided I wanted to get a college degree. So I got out, got my college degree. I started out as a respiratory therapist. And then I got my nursing degree, and then the Army says, you can come back in as a nurse, please come back in. So I went back in as a second lieutenant. And then I spent another 18 years in the Army, and went from the rank of second lieutenant to lieutenant colonel before I retired. I've had great opportunities in assignments. The ones I love the best is the field assignments. I've deployed multiple times in multiple combat zones. I've received many honors and awards. As a matter of fact, I've received one of the highest awards that the country offers a soldier for heroism. And I can tell you that story a little later if you want to talk about it. But basically, it's given people for risking their lives for saving somebody else's life, like the Silver Star, like the Congressional Medal of Honor, like Legion of Merit. This particular one's called the Soldier's Medal. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that. And it's actually equivalent to the Flying Cross. Is where it falls in the order. So that talks about a little bit about my background as far as my service to my country and service to the people that I plan on representing. Now, as far as my education goes, I've got 4 degrees. They're all in science, the highest one being a Master's of Science. I have actually my last assignment for the Army, I was the director of the surgical program at Fort Sam Houston, where I instructed all the Navy, the Air Force, Army, doctors, PAs, nurses, and surgical technicians on how to perform battle-related injury combat surgeries. And that was actually an outstanding job assignment because it allowed me to liaison with the Navy and the Air Force And that is probably my first experience getting into politics, because let me tell you, the three branches don't talk well. Okay? One thing is, I did really respect the Navy a lot because it reminded me a lot of the Army. Get the job done, we'll ask for permission later. Okay? And I did appreciate that, because that's the way the Army is, get the mission done. So that was my last assignment before I retired, and I decided to retire. They actually offered me to give me my 06 if I would stay on for another 4 years. But I had just reached the end of what I felt I could contribute to the service, because I pretty much wanted to set down some roots somewhere, because I traveled my entire life and never had a place I could call home. And one of the things I thought was really, really exceptional is in this county, as I've been going around talking to people, you guys are wonderful. I've never met people like you guys. You guys have reached out, you've opened your hearts, you've opened your homes. I get phone calls and text messages from people all the time checking on me, seeing how things are going. And it's not because they want anything. They're truly concerned. So I know everyone here today is concerned about what's going on. And that's why you're here. And I appreciate your braving this cold weather, because it was mighty cold when I left up Dalco this morning. And my cows didn't want to get up off the ground. But anyway, so that brings me basically to the point of why I'm running. There's a lot of things I think that need to get passed that are being overlooked, and some of them to me seem to be fairly simple. One of the things that is really important to me is parental rights. As a parent of 9 children, I think parental rights is very, very important. And I think it's important for grandparents as well. So important, I'm not even at the State House yet, but I have crafted a bill for parental rights, guaranteeing parental rights within the state of Texas. And if I, for some reason, fail to win this election, I already have a representative that's going to be able to put that forward for me. And that being said, I've actually given it to Grassroots of America as well. Grassroots of America has given me the privilege of endorsing me, so I'm endorsed by Grassroots of America. I'm endorsed by Eagle Forum, Robert West, Five Star Plan, Sue Evenwell from Titus County GOP. Multiple people have endorsed me, and I've really appreciated everything that they've done for me. As part of the parental plan, what I want to make sure happens is we make sure that CRT and SEL and all this other stuff is out of the State House. You've heard that we don't have SEL or CRT in the State House, but the thing is, it's now called CASEL, and it is there. It's under that $6.5 billion plan that they submitted that is allowing a bunch of social workers and stuff like that go in there and talk to our children and see how their social and emotional learning needs are. I have little kids in the school system. And okay, it's there. They come up and make sure that they are safe and they feel comfortable about their life and they're comfortable in the gender that they're in. And they even sent spelling words home or vocabulary words home. Said one of them had woke on it. I asked my 8-year-old daughter, I said, "Why is this on here? It's not in proper context." And she said to me, she goes, "Well, that means to understand." And I'm like, "No, ma'am, it doesn't." And so I corrected her on that. But that was in our school system. And I brought it up to the principal, and we've since corrected that issue. But the thing is that it's sneaking its way in. One of my daughters is a school teacher in Fort Worth. She's got a double master's, and she plans on being a principal. The thing is that she's told me, she feeds me all this information on how SEL is being backdoored in and how CRT is being backdoored in through SEL. And so we've got to be on the outlook for this stuff. We've got to watch this stuff. All this money we keep giving to the school systems without accountability is just not working for us. We've got to make sure we have accountability for all of that. And then the second part of my pillar for my plan is property rights. Property rights are very important, especially in the farming and rural areas like this. Do you know how many foreign countries are coming and buying up their land here in Texas? A lot. There are 8 states that have already outlawed foreign countries from buying and purchasing land, farmland in their states. Texas needs to be number 9. Should have been number 1, but they're not looking out for us. The other thing is that I think that you should be able to own your property. You buy your house, you pay it off. Shouldn't be renting it back in the state. Well, they've got all these plans out there how to fix that thing. I actually have one as well that I've actually talked to some of the candidates that are running for governor about. And the thing is that it actually, if you're homesteaded and state taxes under my plan, you would actually not be paying property tax on your homesteaded property. And that would still allow enough money to fund all of our school systems at the adequate spending level that we have right now. The other thing that I really am pushing for is personal freedom. Because that's one of the biggest things that's really bothered me a lot when I've been running, talking to all the constituents within the district. You realize they had 7,000 bills submitted this year, something like that, in the neighborhood of that number, but they actually worked on 1,000, and not all of them actually got through. But the thing is that these bills, if they're tacked to a requirement like a regulation, they're taking away your freedoms. They're taking away your freedom. A bill at a time. Why do we pass 1,000 bills every year and not rescind bills and restore freedoms? Why are we just doing, if you look at these bills, they strike through very little on the ones that they're trying to fix. They're just really adding to them. They're just taking away more of our freedoms. We need to stand up against that. There are a lot of representatives that do that in this state house, and I respect them. But we need to make sure that we are represented by somebody with the moral clarity to do that as well. Pretty much, like I said, I've just been fighting for Texas rights and basically human rights my entire life. And that's for the born and the unborn. It is very important to me about abortion and preventing it from ever occurring. The heartbeat bill is a great bill. I'm not going to ever knock it. It's a great bill. But the thing is there's more we can do. And there's more that they're trying to do. But I have some different approaches to that because I have so many years in the healthcare system. And same with gender modification. With gender modification and with abortion, both of those could actually be written in on licensure restrictions. And I believe Tenderhorn, I believe it was, correct me if I'm wrong, actually tried to do that at one point against the abortion bill. But the thing is those are two avenues of approaches where we can actually legislate that because guess what? What doesn't belong to the federal government belongs to the state. And managing our licensures within the state is our preview. So we could stop the abortions tomorrow if we chose to do so. Basically, I'd like to turn over to you for open questions because my thing is that I really just I really like to hear from you guys. I don't like to sit up here and speak and talk a whole lot because I feel it doesn't benefit you other than get a little bit of knowing me. But I need to know you if I'm going to represent you because I'm not going to go up there and sit there and say, I want to do this. I'm not in charge. You guys are in charge. And I get so tired of representatives thinking they know better what the people want than what the people want. And I think we need to be represented by somebody that listens. And actually, I may want to share one story with you before we turn it over, if you don't mind. When I first got into the medical field, at that time I was a respiratory therapist. And I was working at a major medical center. And I walked into the room, and there was this really frail lady sitting on the edge of her bed. And she's staring at the wall. Like I did every time I walked into anybody's room, I took my stethoscope off my neck, and I sat there and I said, hi, I'm Dewey, I'm here to listen to you. Well, she burst into tears. She started crying, uncontrollably. And then she said, in a very feeble voice, it's about time somebody wanted to listen to me. Okay? Very important. So what did I do? I went over and sat down with her. For the next 30 minutes, my total attention was with her. And something I've learned that actually affected my core value was the fact that her rights were taken away. Her freedoms were taken away. It was all benevolent, right? They weren't trying to do her harm. But they didn't include her in her plan of care. You've got to remember how long I've been in healthcare. This is before they came up with a collaborative care plan. And that's part of the reason why they did. And so I'm sitting here with this lady and seeing that she's not getting her needs met. And she's not part of the decision process like we're not. So that's why I'm running for state house. Thank
you. So I see you're wearing a COS pin. But do you support conventions of states? Is that COS?
No.
Oh, it looks like COS, sorry.
No, it's DAV, Disabled American Veterans, and I'm a lifetime member, and I do support them.
So you support convention of states?
I support the Constitution. and I support the principles of the Convention of States. I believe as voters, as citizens of this country, we have a right to declare that we want to hold or have our voices heard, and through Convention of States, under that article, is one of those ways to move that.
Okay, would you be willing to sign a pledge for Convention of States?
I would have to read the pledge because I sort of had the same problem with Texas, because with Texas they sat there and said I had to place a bill every year whether I supported them or not. And the thing is that with Texas, what I told them is I support my constituents. If my constituents are telling me overwhelmingly that we need to have a vote on that, then we need to have a vote on it. I'm not your boss. You're my boss. And so therefore, I would submit for a vote on that. However, only based on your feedback. And I told them I would not do it always. I would not do it every year. And I'll just in a second.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry.
Do you support banning taxpayer-funded law?
Oh, absolutely. I don't believe that we should have taxpayer-funded law. And there was a new article that just came out just recently talking about people that are on the taxpayers' payroll and that are actually going out lobbying for other politicians, and I'm totally against that.
Considering your nursing background in education and microbiology, can you speak to the efficiency of the COVID mandates?
Efficacy.
Sorry.
That's okay. And the efficacy is a great question, because I actually am an infection control nurse, because I was a surgical nurse, and one of the options that I could have is I could actually move out and branch into infection control. And so I have many years of infection control knowledge and studies and learning and CDs that I've taken while I was in the service. Now, the thing is that most viruses, because it is a virus, and it's a cold virus, that's why it's so contagious, is transmitted person to person, and you want it to reach herd immunity. And bottom line, because I'm out of time here, is that what we needed to do is we needed to educate the people who were at risk, provide services to those people that were at risk, and allow the rest of the people to work and continue life as normal.
Will you vote for not having Democrats assigned as committee chairs this session?
Absolutely. I don't believe that Democrats should have a seat at the table unless they actually are a majority, because we need to negotiate with them, but we don't need to compromise with them. Our values are very important. Christian values are very important, and I'm not going to negotiate that at all.
Will you vote for Phelan for speaker?
I would have to evaluate that. What I've read on feelings so far is mixed, and I really need to do a little more deep dive into that, so I really cannot give you an answer.
As we now speak about federal overreach, we also need to speak about the state of Texas overreach using eminent domain without our consent. I need all to address restrictions of all government overreach.
Okay. I'm against eminent domain. I've always been against eminent domain. The thing is that I understand when the country is developed, there's things that occur that people do need to have resources in particular areas, and so there are some emergency reasons why eminent domain may be very important to occur. However, the thing is if it's not imminent, it doesn't need to happen. Okay, and that's the name eminent domain, right? It's got to happen because it's going to happen right now. No. And I think that if they do continue in the domain, start with it should be in our Constitution that a civilian company can do eminent domain on our property. That's just wrong. It should be coming through the municipalities or the state legislature. And the other thing is that we also need to make sure that within a domain, if they do have to compensate their property, you can't reappraise your property or your land for the same value that they're going to pay you. There should be a minimum of double the market value of your property, so you can go back and restart your life somewhere else, and you will be compensated in full.
What makes you a better candidate than your opponents?
Well, I only have one opponent, but the thing is that my thing is that I've lived my whole life with a core value system, And my core value system is basically, I'm not always sometimes when I speak my mind, I shouldn't have opened my mouth because sometimes I hurt people's feelings. But the thing is I'm honest to fault. And that's my problem, is I'm honest to fault. And my core values are that of taking care of people and not to do harm. That's why I've been a nurse for so long. That's why I've served in the service, because I wanted to save lives. I wanted to make things work better for everybody. I wanted people to be happy and to be prosperous in their lives.
How do you intend to get your agendas passed when you're elected with all the establishment politicians that are not looking out for the interests of the people who will be electing you?
Okay, I've been looking at that a little bit, because the thing is you can't work in a vacuum. You have to work with other people. And there's a lot of people out there, I'm sure, that are borderline. You know, it's only one way or the other in their voting and how they're going to work. It's just that they get a lot of pressure from who's at the top, and it works its way down. Same thing happened in the military. The problem is that you got to stand up for it. I stood up for it in the military as well, and I didn't get promoted well for that, because the thing is I got the Army identified who needed to be out of there, and they need to get out of there. We need to do the same thing in the state legislature. We have 16 people that are running against incumbents, and if those 16 people join the 31 other people who have stood up and showed that they are true conservatives, then we would have a majority, and we actually could control that house.
What can you do when you take office, and can you do anything to cut our taxes?
Well, the one thing I do want to do as far as cutting taxes is, like I said, this would be a personal effect. Okay, this would be a personal tax cut for individuals who own property. Because if we eliminate property tax on homesteaded properties, then that will actually help that individual that is a resident of the state of Texas. And the reason why I keep saying homesteaded is I'm not going to give a tax cut to Walmart or Target or Amazon or any of these other guys. They're going to keep paying our property tax and keep paying our school tax. We're not going to give them that break. And matter of fact, they're only taxed at 60% of what their value is in the first place. That needs to go back to 100%. They need to make up our deficit because we're the residents of Texas and we need to be treated that way.
What will you do to institute term limits?
Well, I was the first candidate that declared candidacy in the state of Texas, and you can Google this, but I signed a pledge that I believe in term limits, and I would support any legislation that will actually enforce term limits. I believe that you should never be in the state house and be able to retire and draw a pension or draw a medical benefit from the state house. You shouldn't be able to. This is a service. This is you volunteering your life, your family's life, to serve other people within the state, not to get wealthy.
What will you do to reduce government spending?
What I want to do, to be honest with you, is I want to get with some of the other legislators that are at the House currently that have already started to make a name for themselves. And I want to work with them to sit there and start looking at the bills that are in place that need to be rolled back. A lot of them have sunset laws on them, or they're going to expire after a certain length of time. But the thing is that we also need to look at those that don't have those, because there's a lot of them out there that are continuously drawing money from us that are no longer actually even a viable organization. And so we need to eliminate those organizations, or at least substantially reduce them.
What would be the first thing you would do legislation-wise if you get this office?
Okay, I've already written a parental bill of rights. I mentioned that earlier. And I am going to submit that on day one. And it's not a bill of rights just for school. It's a parental bill of rights so that you can't have CPS or the school or other people coming in and stepping in your life and saying, you're a bad parent. These children aren't being taken care of. Because you know what? I've looked at the CPS results and stuff, and the majority of the CPS cases are dismissed because they're found invalid. CPS has become its own monster. CPS is like any kind of social program that we have out there, like with the social workers. I used to work with a bunch of social workers at the university hospital, and these social workers would tell me, you know how I get promoted? I get promoted by more cases I get. So if I go out there and say, this kid needs help, or this family needs help, then I get enough staff or below me, so that's how I get more money. And that's how I get promoted. So that's how that bureaucracy grows. That's not how it should be. What you should be doing is working to get those people off of that and give them the help they need. And they need education, you provide the education. But you don't need to sit there and go in there and try to take over the children's lives and try to put the state's cultural values on your children. Those are your rights. Your values, your culture should go to your children.
Would you be willing to be held accountable by your party that you have chosen to represent? And what should that look like in your opinion?
Well, that's an interesting question, because I don't think there is any ethics in our party as far as discipline goes. If somebody does something wrong, they're just going to get by with it. You know, in the Army, if I did something wrong, like, just like adultery, for example. If I committed adultery in the Army, you know, that's Article 134 of the UCMJ, that is up to 1 year in prison at Fort Leavenworth, making big rocks into little rocks, plus forfeiture of my entire retirement, plus busted down to the lowest rank constable while I'm in Leavenworth. And so we need some kind of ethics. And absolutely, I think the party should be doing that. Now, I get it. These are also bands, and bands aren't covered under UCMJ, and they have their own issues and stuff. But I still think we should censure, at least. We should start censoring people so the voters know that this person has done something unethical during their term.
Last question. You said you will represent your constituents. What can be done to stop lobbyists from influencing our legislators to vote against the wishes of the people?
That's a difficult question. You said the difficult one for last. Okay, so I have my own personal take on lobbyists. Okay, I believe as a representative, I need to align myself with my constituents' core values and my core values. I will not take money, nor will I engage a lobbyist that does not share my core values or my constituents' core values. I was actually asked this question at Grassroots before they endorsed me, was the fact that how would you handle that if they just draw money off and they expect you to talk to them and give them time? Well, I told her, I said, Joanne, I would write a letter, craft this letter so I can send this letter to them that basically states, thank you for your contribution, but your values do not align with my values, nor do they align with the majority of my constituents. However, I am forwarding your check and your money to the GOP so they can put it to better use. And they'll never send me money again.
That was the last
That's the last question?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'm here to fight for Texas. I'm here to fight for all Texans, born and unborn, because I guarantee you that's very important to me. And your personal freedoms, your property freedoms are very important. So if you consider me for a vote come March 1st, I appreciate it. Thank you.